Welcome back to the Intercourse Show. I'm your host, Mr. B. Today we have a very exciting show for you. We are discussing Kevin Samuels versus the I Have a Degree Modern Woman. Let's jump right into it.
Then you live in our community. I mean, some some of it was engineered, but a lot of it has, people's choices. I mean, when you're sitting here talking, I mean, what other when you have women who say
You
openly
know,
say,
I know. I
"Oh,
mean, you know
okay,
what? My
oh,
husband.
hold on." You asked my question. You have a okay. Black men aren't openly out talking about we don't need a woman. We don't want this. You're scrubbed. You're this. You're that. I mean, there's a lot of acrimony between black men and black women, but what do you hear more often than anything else on my channel? Have you watched my show any length of
First
time?
of all, I think
Okay,
I
I
think
need.
women are being dishonest.
Oh, have you? How long you
I
watched
think
my?
women are being
Have you watched
dishonest.
my show?
I've just started watching you for 2 weeks now.
All right.
I'm
Well,
busy. I'm working.
uh, okay. You can't talk over me, so that's not gonna work. So maybe you can't hear the audio's off. Um, I'll answer the call. Look, a lot of black women tend to wonder why there's so much acrimony. Here's why there's a lot of acrimony. Stop fighting. Stop fighting your men and stop talking about you don't need a man. You want acrimony to drop, then somebody's gonna have to go first. And far too many women are waiting for black men to go first. And I'll just be honest, it's not gonna happen. Black men are not gonna go, they're not gonna lay down their arms in this thing. What they're going to do is they're going to do what men have always done. They're going to continue to work, build, and progress and move forward. And then when either one, and when those men decide, if they decide they want a wife, children, anything, they're going to look around and they're going to select the best woman from the women that are available. And I hope there are black women in that selection, but it's up to black women to be there when he decides he's looking for a wife. He who findeth a wife find a good thing. That means you need to be a wife first. So stop trying to be right. Stop thinking that somebody owes you something. Get your daddy issues together. Make peace with your dad. Make peace with the media. Make peace with everything. Because at the end of the day, no one, the world does not owe you understanding. And while a lot of sisters are saying, well, a man should do this, a man should do that, you're saying it with an empty ring finger and no prospects. It ain't about being right. Knock off the shame, guilt, insults, and the need to be right. And say one thing: I need a man. I need one. I don't want one. I need one. I need a man for these reasons. And make peace with the fact that you do need men. A lot of these women talk about you don't need men. You're saying, the women who say that, I laugh at you. I'm like, mankind has civilized the world in general and made it so comfortable enough to where you honestly think you don't need a man. Yet, if there's something that you have and a man wants, you cannot stop him. You can't. You work in an organization that was put together, built, and run by men, on roads that men built, in a house constructed by men, with plumbing by men. You go to the grocery store and the companies, men run the world. So stop talking about you don't need it, because if you had to give back everything that's man made or man contributed, you would have nothing, because women don't build, they nest. And so many women, since the caller asked, black women in particular, are at odds with their very female nature. They don't like it. A lot of women feel like being a woman makes you weak. And I don't want to be weak because that means I'm going to be taken over and I'm going to be done. And that's what the therapy comes in. You're at odds with your feminine nature and you are the weaker vessel. And you need to go sort that out with a therapist. And then when you get your head together, I'm sure there'll be plenty of men out here who would love to date you. But the guy you want probably would have gone on down the path. All right. So we're gonna do Stacy. I've already had you here, Stacy. But I will let you say your final piece. Let me get Stacy in here. Stacy, go ahead. 28, right? Birmingham. All right, sis. Here's the thing. You got, let me make sure we're on the same page. I know a lot of this stuff is hard to hear because unfortunately, we have far more men like Steve Harvey, and a lot of guys like that who are calling you queens and telling you you're just fine the way you are. I listened to a white man on a platform with a black woman telling women who were size 14 that they were not obese. They just think they are. Did you hear what I said?
Yeah, I mean, I
And
don't, I don't know about that.
let me finish.
Okay.
And the point is, when you are fed that ain't nothing wrong with you, it's always somebody else. It makes you comfortable. And the problem is, comfort kills. You knew if you wanted something in this world, you had to go to college and get a degree, right?
Right.
That was a sense of survival. I got to do this or I'm going to live life at a lower economic status.
Mm-hmm.
And if that reality and you are willing to act upon that, do you act upon that same reality when it comes to a mate?
No, I agree with you though, but I think when you talk in terms of survival, we don't think of men as being that sole source for our survival as another person.
Right. Well, you know what's changed a lot of that though, Stacey? You know what's changed a lot of that?
What? Mm-hmm.
Coronavirus.
Yeah.
Because
I mean,
here's the
I
thing.
work from home, but
here's
agree.
the thing. A lot of women here in Atlanta were on that same stuff too. But if you watch shows like The Walking Dead and these post-apocalyptic worlds where society falls apart, you're a smart woman. If society fell apart tomorrow or tomorrow you woke up and there was a zombie apocalypse, can you really protect yourself if civilization falls apart? If there's no police, no fire, I mean, all the stuff you have, how you gonna keep it?
So what, you think a man can have any more strength if there's a zombie apocalypse?
Well, you're a STEM person, right?
Yes.
All right. So let's say you need to open a jar. Do women possess the typical hand strength to open jars? Or do they have to be specially made?
Right.
No, because how about this? Let's take it away from human beings.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you see individual females surviving in the wild by themselves?
Polar bears?
Go ahead. Even if I give you polar bears, go ahead.
I mean, pretty much just kind of bears. But other than that, I mean, I see what you're saying. Like lionesses gather in a group and they all take
because
care.
Women need a group to survive.
Mm-hmm.
See, sadly, you sound like you're not even in touch with really what you are. You honestly sound like you think we're the same.
No, not at all. I don't think men really can clean as well as women. And
but here, man, but honestly, that comes way down. See, we've taken away the survival needs. Food, water, shelter. You're talking about first world problems. And what it is right now, mankind has civilized the world so much to Black women are leading the charge thinking you don't need your men. But guess what? Effectively, you've been separated from your leadership, your headship, and your mate to be out here by yourself. Well, guess what? Who makes better economic decisions overall, men or women?
I think men.
Right. But guess what? If you want to take advantage of a $1.1 trillion spending power, the best way to get a Black woman's money is separated from a Black man. That's why you spend the most of anybody and have the most student loan debt and everything else. An uncovered woman is a boon to a society because you are tied there. You need everything. You need it all. And like I said, coronavirus showed that you single women one thing in particular. You had to go to the grocery store yourself. You didn't have nobody that could go do it for you and risk dying. You had to go out and you had to go while other women were at home with their husbands, with their kids in their shelter, who had men to go out. You had to go fend for yourself.
Right.
And that was in a decent time. What happens you go to the grocery store and there was nothing? You saw the fights that start breaking out. Do you realize that I don't think a lot of you women realize how fragile society is. And by yourself, you cannot survive. You need a man next to you. If nothing else, but we've taken away men's position to where a lot of women are honestly like, well, damn, if I can't have what I want, I'd rather have nothing. Okay. And that's what you'll get, nothing. And you'll die alone.
No, I do think that you're absolutely right when it comes to men and women needing each other. Like you said, in the business aspect, I think men make better decisions economically, and women have
I need
that
I need to correct you on something. This is going to sting. Men don't need you. Men don't need you. Men don't need women. Men want women. The only thing.
How are they going to have kids?
Okay, that is the only need a man has for a woman, and I don't want to get that far down the path, but they are working on artificial womb right now, and that's sad. We have reduced women down to a womb. But why have we done it? Because here is the net of it. We have a 50+% divorce rate in this country, right?
Right.
8 out of 10 divorces in the Black community are filed by who?
The woman?
Black women. 8 out of 10. So 1 in 4 Black women can never expect to be married, but 8 out of 10 Black women are walking away from their marriages. If you simply took away the ability to have file no fault divorce and just remove women's ability to walk in and out of marriages frivolously, you could increase the marital rate. Men want relationship. Men would prefer to be married. It's you guys who can't seem to figure it out. You're never happy. And I won't say you're never happy. You're never content. It's always something ain't right. Something ain't right. And I'm being facetious, but every other race of women in this Western country has never done this. They've never separated and say, we don't need our man. That's why you're the most uncovered, the most unprotected. And then the very men you need, you don't know, you don't understand. And far too many look at Black men with a low level of contempt and disrespect, whether it's rightful or not.
Kevin,
go ahead.
I agree with you completely, but has any other race in this country really gone through, and I'm not going to make it we went through so much, because life throws things at people and you just have to move on from it. But at the same time, I think we just need to take into consideration the things that we have to overcome, whereas other people may not have to overcome such things.
Such as what?
And then we need
Such as what?
Economic struggle. Like you mentioned in another podcast, you said, we got through slavery, Jim Crow. I mean, just all these violent.
But what I need you to understand is prior to 1965, Black people were the most married in this country, 80%. So we came out of chattel slavery, Black laws, Jim Crow, segregation, church bombings, Rosewood, the massacre up in Tulsa, all that. But after 1965, what happened? We were the most married of any group when we had all those horrible things. And this is what a lot of Black women don't like to hear. The government can't. There were a lot of factors that happened. A lot of factors. Integration happened. The change. Hold on, but the change in the economy happened. But the biggest change was in the Great Society and offered a choice: government intervention and or government assistance or your man. And a lot of people say, well, if you're sitting there starving and the man ain't working, anybody would be foolish to turn down food. It was not that dire. I was alive when I saw this. I saw men having to sleep in their car when a lot of these government workers were coming by and they're doing the checks. There were men, there were men in those projects. But when like it or not, sis, black women, you threw away your men. You threw them away. And even now, with all the education and all the knowledge, you're the freest you've ever been, the most enlightened, most intelligent, and you still are not going back to get your men. You're expecting the men to come to you.
I do think we can be a lot more support to our men, and we can try to get them out of these negative.
We don't need you to see. Here's what we don't need. That's a global thing. Black men don't need Stacy to do that. You want to help black people, go become a good black wife and have a black family. So you can't do shit about anything if you don't have black family. So I hear what you're saying, but where's your husband?
Well, Kevin, I mean, that's, are you single?
I've been married twice. So there's the thing. You can't and see that. And this is what happens when black women start losing. It ain't about me, sis. You said it yourself. The reason you're single is because you want a man who's over a certain height, a certain income in Birmingham.
Kevin, I can drive to Atlanta.
But you can't. See, guys, this is what I mean. When it gets right down to it, when it starts to get too heavy, it starts being but.
Kevin Samuels raised some really, really valid points so far, and I just want to weigh in on some of the points that he's just made. It's true that at one point, the black community was more united, more connected. And then certain government programs started to be introduced, and there was more of an incentive to isolate the female black vote and to control that demographic of people. And you can see there were systematic programs put in place to create incentives for there to be divisions between the black man and the black woman. And he made the point that, our women at that time showed us short. Now, it could be in part due to the fact that maybe their women felt like we weren't pulling our weight and being as helpful to them as they needed us to be. But the point is, the moment that happened, it created the substitute to the presence of that man in the house. And therefore, the system or the condition of receiving that assistance was that the man could not be in the house. And if the man doesn't have to be in the house, then he doesn't get to say anything to you. He doesn't get to direct you. He doesn't get to control you. He doesn't get to have a say. That eventually, created a rift, right? Where a lot of women have, specifically that reflect my complexion, have this impression that they can do without their man. And I think Kevin, throughout this whole segment thus far, has been speaking to the fact that a woman is only comfortable in our society because men have built the systems and the processes to make them comfortable. The majority of plumbers, the majority of the people doing the laborious work are men. And it's because of men that those women can feel protected and supported enough for that to happen. He highlighted the fact that during COVID, where people were essentially vying for the toilet paper, in that scenario where a woman would have to fight against another man for her survival, it would create a problem. So therefore, there need to be alliances or men that could stand up for her to protect her interests. And so I think these are things that a lot of people will brush away and think nothing of, but in reality, these are very real things. And unfortunately, this plane doesn't always land when it gets presented in conversation. So that's what you're seeing, a little bit of pushback, and she wants to intellectualize the conversation, but the core points are still the core points. We need each other, but at the same time, to say you don't need your man is a person who's not really seeing things for what they really are. Let's jump back in.
You ain't had a man in 6 years. 6.
But now I'm doing all the work that it takes to get a man before 30. And I'm listening to a guy I was dating actually pointed me to you because he was like, I think you have a lot of potential. Just kind of watch this guy. And I've been watching you for the last month and a half. And I completely agree. That's what led me to call in tonight, because I just want you to give us something that we can do if we're 28 in the danger zone.
I've talked to you. First off, ma'am, I have talked to you. I have talked to you for an hour, and it should have cost you $1,000. How about that? I've done it. I do it every night. But you got to do more.
Right. Okay.
You have to want to have a black man like you want your next breath. Because you don't seem to realize you're the only group of women out here who are unprotected. That if not a black man, then who? Brad ain't rushing over here to get you. Lee ain't trying to deal with you. Ahmed don't want to deal with you. Enrique ain't trying to deal with you. When I say get a black man or die alone, I am dead ass serious. And if a brother told you, listen to this guy because you have potential, I'm one man on a YouTube show. How many women are out there like you who are just clueless about any of this stuff? And they're going to look up and they're going to be 35, 40 years old trying to, I need a black man. And they're going to turn around and look at the black man tree and they're none. And then you hear him talk about, well, I couldn't find him or I can't find him on my level. That's why I made a broadcast the other day, 90% of you guys are going to have to work after marriage and children. Because only 10% of men in this country make 6 figures or more. Most men don't make that. And
but just like there aren't women who have the high value husband, don't you think there are high value men who don't have wives as well? Like there's probably just as many of them.
No, but what point does that prove?
That just proves that if there are women 27 or 26 to 30,
high value men don't have husbands. High value men don't have husbands. What point does that ultimately prove?
If they don't have wives, then that leaves more room for the women who are in the danger zone to be able to go out there.
Absolutely
and
freaking wrong. Absolutely 100% wrong. Wrong. Absolutely wrong. First off, 83% of millionaires, 83% of millionaires and 90% of billionaires are married. When you look at the companies you work for, are they run by high value men? How many CEOs do you think run this country in a Fortune 2000 companies are unmarried? Part of being high value is having a spouse. The divorce rate in the lower class is 70%. The divorce rate in the upper middle class is 20%. High value men aren't the problem. It's modern women who are the problem. You have unrealistic standards. You want everything and you're nowhere close to bringing what you want to the table. And newsflash, a high value man can decide to be 50 years old and go get a 23-year-old wife. You cannot be 50 years old and go get a high value man. But again, more women try to sit around and worry about all these other big issues when the best thing you can do is get yourself to the wife status you want to be. But I got news for you. You're going to be one of those 90% that's working. Because the only women who can demand what you're talking about, the women who can demand what you're talking about are 8s, 9s, and 10s. Pretty, beautiful, or gorgeous, globally, cross-culturally. Not cute girls. Pretty, beautiful, or gorgeous. 8s, starting around Beyonce. And this is what pisses a lot of women off because the reason you're asking for the kind of man you're asking for is because of your college degree and your job. If you worked at Quick Trip or Dollar General, you wouldn't be asking for a man as high as you are.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. I'm okay with, just a guy who makes a decent living and we have good things, but
you said you wanted to make you may want him to make $120,000 a year.
I do.
So don't lie to me. I have a good memory.
But you think high value is in the 300,000s, correct?
No, I did not say that. I'm talking about when for the kind of that comes into consideration. No, high value men start at $10,000 a month, $120,000 a year is where it starts at as far as money. But high value men is just not about money. But when you're talking about what you want, you don't want to have to work. You wanted multiple children. And that's fine.
Yeah,
But you
that's
don't,
true.
but I know. And see, far too many of you ladies start saying what you think will make you look good. And the truth is that's what you want. That's what's made this show popular. I talk about what women truly want. And it doesn't matter. But it doesn't matter from women who are 5'4", 260 pounds, or from women who are LA 9s. You still want the same thing. The difference is the LA 9 can get it. Most of you can't. And you just said it. You're a University of Alabama graduate, 28 years old, and you want a man making top 10% money. And you ain't, and here's the hardcore truth. I'm taking time because this is going to help somebody else. You haven't had a relationship in 6 years. You're not even suitable for it. Your relationship muscles have atrophied. You should be.
I mean, I've dated, but I hear what you're saying.
It's different. It'd be no different than saying, you know what? I've read books. You went to college and got a degree. I read all the books you read at the library. Is it the same?
Yeah, that makes sense.
No, it's not. It's not the same because one went through a process and a structure. You have been unattached. You have not had to decide. The longest you've ever spent cooperating with a man has been a year. That does not prepare you to be a wife.
Right.
So sitting here telling me, you should do this and you should do that, and what so many women want is a quick fix, a magic pill. And I'm sorry, I don't have it. It's going to take a lot of work and a lot of money and a lot of investment and a lot of time. Here's what I've said. You need to do these 5 things. Understand the kind of lifestyle you want. Be very clear about it. 2, get brutally honest about and seriously scrutinize yourself from head to toe, bucket naked, out of the shower, no makeup, no hair extensions. Scrutinize yourself from head to toe, inside and out. 3, get a second job and be prepared to pay the money it's going to cost to invest in yourself, because you cannot watch YouTube videos of level up people and think you're going to get knowledge that you can really act on. 4, educate yourself about the men, the lifestyle, and everything else. And then 5, take action. But what'll ruin it for most women is they're not going to spend a goddamn dime. And sadly, far too many black women think I got the vajayjay, so that's all I should have to do. And I go back. And why is that important? Because I go back to what you asked me before the first time. Well, what are the Asian women and this woman? What are they doing willing to do to separate themselves? A whole hell of a lot.
In defense of African American women, we actually try to do it ourselves. We go get our hair done, we get our nails done, we do all these things that we really can't sometimes afford given the long, extensive economic history that we have. And so we still actually invest in those things.
Okay. And is what you're doing what men want?
It might not be, but I do.
Well, then, hold on. Say that again.
I think that as African American
No.
women,
I asked you a direct question. Is what you're doing what men want? Yes? No?
Yes. And let me explain.
No, there is no explanation. I'm going to tell you no, you're wrong. See, you don't again. This is where you're at, sis. You want black men to accept what you want to do. Black men have been saying for decades what they want, but women like yourself refuse refuse to give men what they want. You want to give them what you think they should accept and then get upset when they don't accept it. Well, let me ask you, when you go to your favorite restaurant and they just sit a plate of food in front of you and you say, well, no, I was going to get something different. This is what we have. Eat it. And I need a good tip. Would you leave that restaurant or would you eat up and say, I got to come back?
I would leave.
Well, then the question is, if all the stuff you're doing is not yielding the result, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and getting the same result, right?
Right.
Then why don't you start asking the black men that you want what they want and then do that?
I will do that. I don't know how to go. I guess I could just ask my African American male friends.
Well, that would be a good place to start. But you could also ask the guy who broke up with you why he left. Is he unmarried? The guy you were with in college?
No, he's not married either.
You could ask him, hey, why?
I don't think he's that great of a catch.
Well, that doesn't sound too smart for you.
Well, I was younger then.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right. So again, this has been a good case study in exactly why so many sisters are by themselves.
Okay, there you have it. Kevin Samuels just raised some extremely good points just now. One of the points that he raised is that too often women are offering men stuff that they're not asking for. And the best analogy that I think he could have drawn is the analogy by which he points out if you go to a restaurant and the restaurant brings you a plate of food that you did not order with stuff that you don't like and tells you to eat it and like it and to leave a certain tip, most likely that's going to leave a bad taste in your mouth and you're not going to go back to that restaurant. You're not going to leave good reviews. You're not going to endorse that place of business. And I think that's what's happening right now. We're at a crossroads, specifically in dating, where men are saying, I don't want you wearing too revealing clothes. I don't want you being too mixy and posting your naked bodies online. I don't want you, taking girls trips and doing all these different things, like I want more of this. I want more of that. I want a woman who values this and who values that. And it's almost as if they're not saying anything to anyone, because a lot of women are hearing that and saying to themselves, well, I'm the prize. I'm the treasure. I'm not going to acquiesce to what you want, even though they're supposed to be our helpmates. But you got to acquiesce to what I want. So you got to do what I think is worthy for you to qualify to be with me. And too often men end up simping out and acquiescing and essentially yielding to whatever it is that these women are demanding. And a lot of times it's, you got to pay for this, pay for that. You just got to be a utility and all these different things. And in reality, it's not yielding the type of results that men want. And what Kevin is saying, for the man who's in the small percentile of men who has accomplished a great number of things and who does have a bright future and a lot of options, why would he subject himself to a woman who's not willing to give him what he wants? And so now you're starting to see a decline in marriage rates. You're starting to see a decline in relationships even staying intact, because one party's not giving the other party what they want. Now, again, goes back to whether or not Black women thinks that it's important to even have a man. Now, if that mindset is your premise for how you start relationships, then you're going to see men as indispensable. Like you can just have them and get rid of them whenever you want to. The problem with that is that you will age and eventually your sexual marketplace value will eventually diminish as you get older in age and you offer a little less to the man, in that men want to have children, right? And if you get older in age and you don't necessarily want to have children, or because your body gets to a point where you can't necessarily guarantee you're going to have healthy children, Now you're now compromising against time, and it just diminishes the types of men that may proposition you for a long-term relationship. So now you're working from a smaller pool, and then there's younger women who are willing to offer these things, so now they have other options, and now you almost kind of fall in the background, never to really be sought after the way you were when you were in your peak of your sexual marketplace value in your early 20s, and your body was, looking good, and you had all these other things to offer. So that being said, it's not to say it's impossible. That's not the position I'm taking. You certainly have the possibility, and if it's God's will, it will happen. The point is, in terms of likeliness and probability, those things go lower and lower the older you get. And if the mindset is not changed where you're willing to compromise and hear out what the men are saying, then you're going to be left out in the cold, not to really get the feedback you need. And I think that's the point that Kevin Samuels is trying to drive home. That being said, I agree with Kevin and everything that he raised in this particular segment, but I asked for you to weigh in on your point of view. What do you think about this particular subject matter? Was Kevin right? Was the young lady right? Weigh in, like and subscribe, stay connected to the channel so that when we have videos like this and others, you can weigh in and be notified. All right. Thank you again for joining us. And until we speak again, God bless.